Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel Made with Love. My name is Heather, and if you can tell, I'm not in my craft room today. I'm in my living room only because I needed a big space to do this. I just took the one wreath off my door. I made this wreath. This is the first wreath I made with the mesh, rolls of mesh from the dollar store and the wire frame. Did this about 6 years ago. I hang this one up on my door when I'm between ideas or seasons, and I'll just put other things on here, and I've attached different plaques in here. But I took that one off my door. Oops. But I'm in my living room because I gotta put the fall one up, and I needed a lot of room. So this is my fall wreath. I made this, I just had to look it up, in August of 2020. Pull it out of the bag. I know I've thrown some extra pieces in here to add to it. Just gotta take that extra piece off. So this is the wreath that I made. I started with quite a large grapevine wreath. I had my tape measure. Just give me 1 second. I just gotta grab that. Sorry, I had the tape measure. It slid under the couch. Okay, so I was gonna measure my wreath form here. So this grapevine wreath form, it's about 22 inches. I don't know if I can get this up. It's so big, but it's like 22 inches. But when I go from the top of where everything is to where it's all finished, I actually get like 28 inches. So it's a really big wreath form when it was fully made. Over the years, it was outside, you know, on the door, being open and closed, or just the way I had it being stored. Some of the leaves have been falling off, and I just kind of fix it when I'm putting it on the door while it's hanging on the door. The majority of the leaves and stuff on here, floral picks and everything, were from the Dollar Tree. The only thing that wasn't is these large gold metallic leaves. I got these at a secondhand store or a garage sale. I can't remember. They were initially from Michael's, so you know they were quite expensive, but I got this one large one, and then I had a whole bunch of these smaller ones, so I have the large one in the center. So I'm just gonna angle my camera down so you can see what I'm going to be doing. So I recently had gotten this at one of the thrift shop hauls I had done. I got it for $2.50. I don't know if I can even show that, because it's just a little secondhand store. It's $2.50 for this nice chunk. I've got it all taped up here. I didn't even unwrap it. All I did was when I bought it, I just stuck it in the bag with this wreath form so I can use it. So I'm just gonna unwind it now because I hadn't even done that. I don't know how big it is. Let's see, or is it a couple put together? I'm not sure. Got to unhook here. Okay, so there we go. So it's quite a long garland, which I'm just going to take my wreath form here, get this into view. As I said, I needed to be here because I want to lay this over top to get this to look even bigger and fuller on my door. So I'm just going to clip this on here somehow. Just gonna try to get this branch to go through the willow like that, and I'm just gonna bring it around the whole bottom, and I'm just gonna find the top one because the top and bottom both have these little hooks, and I'm just going to find where up here where I can get it to hook in as well. There we go. So now I've got that added, and that gives me another really big chunk of the wreath. Now my wreath is even bigger than it was, which is kind of what I wanted. I really want a wreath that you can see on my door. So I'm just gonna set this down. Flip this around. There's not much I have to do. I knew that's all I was going to do was just attach this onto here, and I'm just going to hang this up on my door. So that is for my door, and then I've lost a couple of the leaves doing that, so I will just hot glue it back in place. I don't have my glue gun because I'm not in my craft room. The other thing I want to do is I have these baskets, and I use, oops, it's kind of breaking on me. I've had these baskets quite a few years. This one I've had, I'm trying to think where we were. I probably had this one like 15, 17 years, somewhere in that range. It's just a basket. I love baskets. I love this style, how long it is. I mean, I've done different things with we have a gas fireplace here, but we had just a electric fireplace. And it's long enough that you just put logs in here and have it sitting by the fireplace. It looks so cute. There's a lot of hot glue residue because I've done so many things for every season. You know, like these make great Easter baskets. But I want to do is with my pine cones. I got so many pine cones. And then I also have this other basket. Now, this basket I recently got in the last 2 years. I'm not quite sure if I got it maybe 3 years ago. I can't quite remember, but it was just a secondhand store, not a lot of money. I saw it, I grabbed it. I love baskets, but I'm actually cutting down the number of baskets in my house because I had so many. So I said I'm only keeping baskets if I can use them all the time. If they're just gonna be stored, I have to second guess and decide, do I need it or not? It's really hard. Because I said I always like baskets because you can put everything in and store, but then what I found was I just didn't end up using them for anything except just having stacks of baskets, you know, baskets stacked inside each other. So I don't know if I'm going to use this one. I do love this one for Easter. It makes a really fancy, you know, big Easter display. So I don't know if I'm going to use this one outside. I think I might just do the one today just based on the timing and how much supplies I have. And I'm trying to do this on a budget where I'm just using everything that's here in my home. I don't want to go out and, these things are little acorn things. So I don't want to go out and purchase a whole bunch of stuff. So I went through all my floral picks already. It took me about an hour to do that. And I just brought up all my fall picks. I'm not even doing the, didn't even bring up like the real obvious Thanksgiving harvesting picks. I've got some here that are the Christmas ones, but I do have an idea is just to give this, because we're going from the summer into the fall and then into Christmas. So I do want some of the green branches, but I don't want the really holiday looking stuff. So I'm going to be cutting these down just to give me just the green little pieces. So I'll just be pulling these all apart just so I can get whatever you want to call these. I know they've got some of the glitter. There's nothing I could do about having the silver glitter. I really want to try to avoid having any glittery shiny stuff for on my front step at the moment, but I've got no choice because I'm trying to save money and just use what I have. So I've got a whole bunch of these, and actually these little picks and stuff, these big ones here, these was actually the original wreath form that I had used for the fall one. I had bought our first or second summer here, just around the neighborhood. Somebody had it in their garage sale, and it was $10 or $12 for this nice big Christmas wreath, and I loved it. I used it for quite a few years, and then it just wasn't looking so good. Like this was some of the, like it had some nice little bits of tulle, you know, holding, you know, the flowers in, but over time that just, you know, when the tulle starts to just hang, then I stopped using it because I wasn't quite sure how to fix it. And then one day I just decided it's a nice wreath form, just to rip all the Christmas stuff off. So it had little ornaments on it, and I took all the Christmas ornaments and I used them. I have used them in my day home because they were perfect, you know, secondhand. Yeah, there's a few left here. You know, little Christmas presents, and there was little soldiers, little, you know, tin men, I don't know, just little toys and the trains and little ballerinas and things, and they were all this nice purple and blues, and it worked perfect for that. So I'm trying to, you know, best thing to do is just try to reuse what you have. So I took it apart and I said I'm just going to keep all these little greenery picks, because I knew I could always use them at a later date. It's taken a couple of years for me to figure out what to do with them, but so I'm going to have to pause here shortly and get all these taken apart, because I just want the green. I'm just trying to separate these because I had it separated in the basement. I was going to do this downstairs, and I thought it's so nice outside. The sun is still shining. It's more brighter up here. So I decided to bring everything up here. So that's why it's all just kind of up here and just dumped out. And then I have these other little picks here, the fall ones, which I decided that I'm gonna stick in and around. And I've got some of the fall, I think these are mums. And these other ones, I don't know if they're daffodils, daisies, I don't know my flowers. Sorry, and because I've reused them for so long, they no longer have little tags onto as to what flowers they are, but I believe these ones are the mums. And these ones are like a daisy type. Not quite sure exactly what they would be. So the fall colors. I've got some of this grassy reed stuff. Again, it's a little bit more green than I want for this time of year, but I still figure we're still in that transition where everything is still vibrantly green. And of course I got some of the pussy willows ones as well. And I've got these other, I don't know what they are, some other type of reeds that I think will just look good stuff in here. Now I've got these giant, more of those, I've got these giant, they're just falling off everywhere, giant pine cones. So I've got a bunch of this size and a bunch of this size. I don't know, I used to have more. I guess I'm down to 5 of this size and 2 this size. I think I used to have almost 10 of each. And so those I do want to put in this basket. So you can see you put the greenery down, and then the large pine cones. You can see how the green will just accent with that, and then with the florals in between that. And then I also have this whole bag here, is this bag here. It's a pretty good size bag, and it's mostly just all my fall vase fillers. Like I've got smaller pine cones, but then I have these other, you know, store-bought ones, and these other vase fillers that look like dried acorns and sticks and just random, I don't know, like dried seeds and nuts and stuff. So these I'll also be putting in here. So right now I'm just gonna go and cut all the greenery up, and I'll be back when I get that done. Okay, I've got everything laid out around me as to what I'm going to use and not use. I've got a bunch of these vase fillers. Like these are these, I don't know, like wood ones, little wood balls, the little dried nuts and seeds, these little dried flowers, bundles of sticks, and then I've got these little balls of like seeds. So these ones I am not going to use outside. I want to stick with ones that, even though mine's a covered porch, I want to stick with stuff that I know is going to be okay outside. I have some other ideas for these other ones to be used inside anyways. So I'm going to start with all these little green picks. I'm just going to lay them out around, where's the big ones? I'm just going to lay them out just around the bottom. this just so I get a nice green, I don't know, green on the outside so it's bigger than, you know, so then it'll be, you know, you kind of pull these apart so then you get more, you know, fuller looking basket. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm just gonna set these in here. They're different ones because there's some that are really obviously Christmas, more Christmassy, like actual like Christmas tree, and these are just other ferns or, you know, pine needles things, but different variety of pine needles, I guess. Just want to get these piled here just so I get a nice thing, because I want the pine cones to be in the center. So maybe I'm going to start to put these pine cones just so I know how much room the pine cones are going to need. Now these ones are so old, they're falling apart, so I'm putting them down so the broken pieces, I'm just kind of pulling them off, and I'm saving the broken pieces because you can always do things with the broken pieces, but just trying to put them in the basket so that it looks like it's a basket full of giant pine cones. And then I can always put more greenery around, like in here if I want to. I'm not quite sure how this is gonna look. I had an idea of what I was kind of going for, and now as I'm doing this, I don't quite know if this is really what I thought it was gonna look like. Just pulling some of those extra wire bits off because I can use them in my other floral arrangements. I don't need them like in this one at this moment. There we go. So you get these nice big basket full of green, little greenery, and the acorns. Some acorns here. Because I want it to start to look like fall, but I really want my decor where I can just have the basic made, and then I can just slowly change out something here or there, and I can go straight through from September, because we are mid-September, so I can go straight through from like September, you know, we're hitting into fall. Thanksgiving up here in Canada is coming up in just a few weeks, and then we've got Halloween, and then the American, you guys have your Thanksgiving in November, and then Christmas. So if there's any way I can just have some of my decor pieces, just simplify it this year, where I don't have to keep decorating, you know, like all season and changing out everything. That's my goal for this holiday season. It was just to, how can I take what I want to do with my house, and how can I decorate so I don't have to go and redecorate my house every month. Now, how does that look? It doesn't take any time to do that. I'm actually surprised at how it looks. Oops, I found a few more of these little green pieces behind me. I thought I used them all up. It looks really good. I'm just one of those things. I just thought of this earlier today, and I just started, you know, I'm just gonna put it all together. And then I said I got these florals. These ones, I'll have to take these apart because these ones I'm missing a couple flowers off. I'm missing one yellow and one of these orange ones. I probably use them on something else. These, I also like to just take them apart. That way, I don't have to get the wire cutters and do that in a moment. That way I can just put the florals around so they're not just in big bundles. Now these ones here, I have tried taking some of these type apart, and once you start taking this apart, they just fray all the way up. So these big ones, I'm going to just leave them big, and I'm just gonna stick them in. Just trying to figure out where. Maybe just stick it in the center here. Just trying to get it in. Just trying to see, and it just kind of makes it start sticking out a lot further on both sides, so much so. This is why I said I knew my craft room, I wouldn't have enough room to do this. I got another one, so I'm just trying to even this out. So I'm just going to separate this and do the same thing, just kind of stick it in. Like that, and just kind of separate it a bit so then it looks like it's 3 separate pieces, not just one big piece. There. I got these pussy willows, same thing. I have tried taking some of these apart. These are just from the dollar store, just from like a Dollarama, I believe, or Dollar Tree. I'm not sure. I've got a couple different ones. I'm not quite sure which dollar store they're from, but I find sometimes these ones, if you try to take them apart, they just don't want to come apart sometimes. I'll just do that. Take this one too. I'm just bending the stick. I'm not cutting these, my large florals, because I've got large vases, and I always find it just easier just to bend it to fit it into these smaller spaces rather than cutting them down to size, because then I've had a few times where I've had to cut them down to size just because of the style of the vase, but then I will keep the pieces that I cut off, and that way if I do need it for a larger vase, I can always just reattach the, I don't know, the wire or something to give me the height if I really needed the height. This one didn't really want to bend. Now it does. This one here just doesn't want to do that, so maybe just stuck this one in here. Maybe I'll just tuck it in here. Have this sit up here, and then I'll do the same to this one, just bend it and stick it in up this side of the handle up here. It's gonna work that way. And the color of these branches, it kind of blends in with the basket. So I can just kind of bend it in and around so it just looks like it's part of the basket. It's the same color. Just looks like the handle had to be reinforced a bit. So I can just get this tucked in the handle, almost. Not quite. There, got that to tuck into the handle. Get this one to come around and tuck into this side of the handle. And then I said, it just looks like, just get this to just bend into there. And it just looks like it was the basket just was reinforced a bit. I'll turn around so you can see right here. I just kind of pulled it up and around, and now it just blends in with the basket. It looks like it was just the handle being, you know, reinforced so it would stay. Let's see if I can get this to come up. Let's see, I get these. I don't want to break these, but let's see if I can get this to come through up here. That there. Now they kind of match. Now it's just kind of standing up like that. So this will be the back. So I will have, I'll just play around with these a little bit later tonight, just so I can get these to stand up a little higher, just like that. Actually, I like that. That looks pretty good. Just got to figure out how I can get these to separate a little more so they look fuller and fluffier, not just so stiff and straight. At the same time, I don't want to break them at the moment. And I'm just going to go and grab my wire cutters and trim these. But before I do that, I do have these other little ones that I'm going to put in as well. These are on the little foam because I had a floral arrangement. I had these in a little basket for a floral arrangement for a couple Thanksgivings, a couple years ago for Thanksgiving. It was the centerpiece. And so I stored it away just in the basket, and then I didn't have to do anything. And then when I needed the basket, I just kept the florals in the foam, and it just made it easy to store. And I haven't had to use them in a couple of years, so it made it really handy. these wherever I can fit them in. I'm just going to continue putting these in. I think that's all I'm going to use. I don't think I'm going to use any of these smaller pine cones. Something just popped up on my screen. I'm not quite sure what that was. So I'm not going to use these smaller pine cones. I love the size of these large pine cones. So I'm just going to continue putting these in like this. My thing is telling me I've only got 2 minutes left of recording. So I'm going to pause here and I'm just going to continue putting these little floral picks in, and I'll put the flowers in. And then I will set it on my front step and show you how it looks. So I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, here is the wreath on my door. As you can see, it's gonna be tricky opening and closing the door. It's wider than my door. I think I'm gonna have to adjust that. I think I'm gonna have to move how I've got it hanging, because I've got it hanging a little more to the right of the door. I'm just gonna have to get the hook kind of fixed. And then here is the other floral arrangement. It's hard to see. I do have a little table, so I'm going to grab that little table and set it on the table just so it's higher off the ground. So I'm just going to adjust these two things and I'll be right back. Alright, so I moved this arrangement on this side of the door on the little stand, and I've moved the wreath the best I can. It's just that big. It's wider than my door. And then I had the other little flower arrangement. I'll have to add some florals to this just to make it look a little bit better, but this was one I had done quite a few years ago. So my mom had gotten this vase. It was a color she didn't like. She painted it black. She brought it over to me and I was cleaning it and I discovered a really nice pattern. So I worked hard to get that off. But because it had been glued together, I didn't want to get to where the glue was. And then I did find that it had a picture under. So I cleared off all the paint to reveal the picture. And then I left the rest black just because you can see this is glue holding it all together, because it's just a ceramic vase and it's been broke several times. So I just left it like that. So you get this nice glossy shiny, and then the picture, and then just black just to kind of cover up the blobs of glue. And then the black also goes with my sign that I'd made a few years ago. And I had kind of fixed it up, and so it just says welcome to our home. These pieces of wood, I've had so many people ask me if it's barn wood. They're not barn wood. It is really just old pieces of a door jamb, and the letters are just from the dollar store. And you can see I was repairing and they slid on me, so some of the letters are a little crooked and the spacing's a little off, but that's okay. I'm gonna step back so you can see how it all looks so far. All right, I've got just a minute left of recording time, so I guess I'll end there. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed to both my channels. This one is Made with Love. My other one is Beauty on a Budget. And thank you so much for everybody who's subscribing, watching, sharing, and I will see you all in my next videos. Bye.